Welcome to So News here with Kevin Clark. I'm Kevin Clark.
Yeah.
One of the people we've been trying to get on this show, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Richard Sherman. All right, Richard Sherman, one of the best defenders of his generation, is here with Fan Controlled Football. He's a media member. He's with Amazon. He's got a podcast at the volume I was just listening to. I quite enjoy it. I love when ex-players are able to provide a level of insight that, I mean, like, I think I can do a lot of homework. I can talk to a lot of people, but I can't just get there with the actual player perspective. It's so different. So if someone like you with Chris Long, there's just an extra layer you're not going to get from a journalist. Is there anything, Richard, that you've learned in your kind of media time that's changed your perspective on anything just in the last couple of months?
Well, interviewing is really hard. Interviewing guys is really hard. It's definitely an art and a skill to keep the conversation going, to have the right pauses, to know when to ask the next question, when you wait and allow them to keep going, when to have a follow-up question that's nice and short and concise. That's a really, really tough thing to do. To fit great points into 15 to 20 seconds is very difficult to do. And yeah, it's hard to always, if I wasn't a player, I would see it being very tough to get guys to be on your show, to give you great content, to talk to you the way, without the walls up. And so, yeah, I tip of the cap.
I was talking to somebody in the league, a PR director, who was telling me that Tom Brady put in a request for their quarterback. And the quarterback was like, yeah, but no more than 5 minutes. And they're like, wait, it's Tom Brady. It's Tom Brady. Wait.
Right. Right.
If you're not giving anything to Tom Brady, who are you giving it to?
Who are you giving it to? You should have more than 5 minutes of fan time with Tom Brady.
That's right.
You're a quarterback.
That's right.
What are we doing?
Oh, man. All right, let's settle this debate. Maybe we can't settle it. Maybe there never was a debate. Tua versus Herbert. We saw what happened on Sunday night. I thought there was no debate. I thought it was some media members just trying to create something where there wasn't. This to me isn't anything. What'd you see on Sunday night?
In terms of a debate?
Yeah. Do you feel differently about Tua versus Herbert? Do you feel differently about the 2020 draft after seeing Sunday, or is this just confirmation of your priors?
I think both teams are happy. I think both teams are happy. I think this was Herbert playing with his receivers healthy and completing a full game for the first time in the season. I think Tua has done fantastic in Mike McDaniel's scheme and with the weapons that he has and done a great job putting the ball up and letting Tyreek run under it, giving the ball to Waddle in space and allowing him to be dynamic. So I think both teams are happy. You always have the argument of who has the best arm talent and who has the best this. I think if you built the quarterback, you build Herbert in most case scenarios. But Tua's doing a freaking great job with the gifts that he has, and he's leading his team. And I think both teams are happy.
What's the ceiling of the Brock Purdy Niners? You've been in that. You've played for Kyle Shanahan. You understand how quarterback friendly that offense is. You understand how nasty that defense is. Just watching it and knowing some of those guys. What's the ceiling of this team?
It's the same as it was before the season. It's going to be the ceiling is a Super Bowl. Now it'll be a dogfight with whoever they're in the Super Bowl with, but I think they can make it to the Super Bowl. I think if you get in a scenario where they get the 2 or 3 seed, I mean, whoever they're playing in the playoffs is not going to want to play them. So if they're the 3 seed, they'll play. Could be the Commanders, Giants. Could be the Seahawks again. I think I feel good about them being able to get past that game. Then they get to the next round. They could potentially play the Minnesota Vikings. I feel good about them getting past that game. Then you got the Philadelphia Eagles in Philly. That's the game that's going to, that makes men. And this team is coming off of, I mean, they've been to a Super Bowl. Most of these people, and especially on that defense, have been to a Super Bowl, have been to 2 NFC championships. They have a different kind of expectation. They have a different kind of experience. They've been in those big games. They know how cutthroat the playoffs are. So I think that'll help them in the long run. And Brock Purdy is young and dumb, and that's sometimes the best way to be. You don't know no better. And you just go out there and play the game. You play it pure. You get people the ball. You keep moving it down the field. You take your runs. He has a little more athletic, a sneaky athleticism that you talk about. So I think Super Bowl.
Wow, interesting. Can you tell me something about being coached by Kyle Shanahan that most people don't know? Because I think we all hear the painting in broad strokes and we say, oh, okay, well, he runs the Shanahan system and outside zone and all this stuff. But when you're in the locker room, what makes him a good coach?
transparency, honesty, and he's deliberate. He's deliberate. He pays attention to everybody and everything. Like he'd go to a practice squad player and tell him about how he was on scout team and how hey man, you need to stop leaning so far this time. That's why we keep running the ball right here, and that's why we keep reaching you. We need you to get better and lean further this side or use your right hand a little more. Like he's watching everybody's technique on every play, and that's how detailed he is. It's not like he's just like, hey, how did my quarterback do on this play? How'd the receivers do? Okay, next play. He's like, hey, what did my right guard do? He tipped the play or he didn't get around quick enough, or we need him to push him out. Like he let him fill the gap too quick, or he got there too fast, or on this slide by the Y, we need Kittle to get there a little quicker and we need him to bump him outside on his right shoulder and not his left. And that's how detailed he is in his coaching, in his preparation, and in his play calling.
Interesting. What's something about modern defense that you wish more people understood when you're talking about the way things are discussed in the media or just among fans? Like, is there something, a nuance where you wish you could communicate it better that this is happening with modern defense?
Well, it's rarely ever as cut and dry as people say. I mean, they're like, hey, this guy got beat by this guy. And it's rarely, I mean, unless they're just in straight man coverage with no help, no plugger, no nothing. It's rarely that simple, and it's rarely like, man, like this guy busted on this play. It's like, he probably saw something. They probably literally broke the rules of their defense. They probably did exactly what they were supposed to do. And this offense broke the rules of that. Like we had Shanahan broke our rules one time in a game. And so anytime you had one receiver displaced, so a displaced receiver means he's not connected to the line of scrimmage. So he's out wide, or in the slot. And a tight end can be that way too. He can be standing up off the line. But when they're in 3-point stands connected to the line of scrimmage, they're connected. So that's not displaced. And so he had Dan Quinn there. So Dan Quinn, ran our scheme. And so I'm sure they ran it throughout training camp, and he figured out the holes in the scheme. And so he brought in two tight ends to the single receiver side. So there's a receiver each side and two tight ends to the left. And they're both connected to the line of scrimmage. He just ran a simple, like, one-step slant by the receiver. And when you have one receiver, it's man-to-man. It's pretty much man-to-man. Hey, I got that guy locked up, but it's cover 3. But if that guy stays in there and he runs a slant, I got the slant. And so he ran him on a one-step slant. He ran the tight ends on seams. Touchdown. Uncontested. And it broke the defense. It literally was against every rule that we had. So we had to change the rules of the defense in order to combat that situation, but nobody had ever done it. So sometimes you run into situations where you're like, man, these guys suck. Like, these guys made a mistake. It's like, they beat the scheme. Like, the scheme can be beat.
Wow, you had to come up with the Shanahan rules, like the Jordan rules.
Right. We definitely had to. I mean, because once somebody does it, everybody does it, because it's copycat league.
Wow, that's fascinating. I want to talk about another one of your coaches, Pete Carroll, because I think that he made a comment last month I thought was so funny, where he was saying everybody was coming at him. They don't understand. He doesn't understand modern football. He didn't understand. He didn't let Russ cook, all that stuff. Are you surprised at the success he's had? Are you maybe confused as just how weird the debate got, especially in the media, about Pete Carroll? And because I think he's a pretty good football coach. Obviously, nobody's perfect, but I think Pete got to take kind of a well-deserved victory lap this year with what he's been able to do.
No question. I mean, it was disappointing. It was, but that's why the whole situation playing out the way it did was honestly the best case scenario for Pete. To let Russ go swim in his own pond and let him swim in his own pond, and then everybody goes their separate way. Because anytime you have an all-decade coach being questioned about if he's a good coach, it's troubling. You're like, well, how do you think he became an all-decade coach if he's not a good coach? You're like, hey, he doesn't know how to evolve. It's like, well, it seems like he's winning a lot of games regardless of the circumstances. And again, he's winning a lot of games regardless of the circumstances. He got 2 rookie tackles, a rookie corner that was drafted in the 5th round, a rookie nickel, a rookie running back playing a lot of snaps. And they're doing a great job. A veteran quarterback, but the veteran quarterback that not a lot of people had high expectations for, but he's 4th in the league in touchdown passes. I think he's 6th or 7th in yards, top 5 in QBR. And you're like, hey, maybe this guy's a pretty good coach.
I agree. What do you think about Geno this year? I mean, it's really been something, especially obviously beating Russell Wilson in September was such an emotional lift for everybody in the organization, everybody around the organization, everybody who's rooted for the organization. I mean, just take me through processing, having been on the inside, knowing all that relationship, what you thought about that journey.
I think this has been one of the coolest stories in sports in general. I mean, and in football, because you just have, I mean, you had the Kurt Warner situation where he came from the arena and did all that, but you have rarely ever seen a quarterback just kind of go from like, hey, first round guy to like a career backup to back being a guy, 10 years later, a full decade later. And it's really cool and he deserves it. It's not like it's fluky and he's just having like some miraculous lucky passes. He has two good receivers. He's hitting guys in stride. He's showing off his arm talent. He's commanding the offense. And he's also being very, very cool in the media. And that's been really cool. He's been great in the media, the stories he's telling, the answers he's giving. I mean, he's an easy guy to cheer for.
Surprised? I mean, I think anybody who's just even watched him is probably surprised at the lack of production from Russell Wilson. Maybe the culture stuff is different, but I'm surprised that he just is just missing stuff he normally makes. I mean, I didn't know the bottom would fall out this year. What do you make of that?
Well, it's a combination of a few things. It's just like there's no familiarity there. No, it's in Seattle. There was always a familiarity of hey, no matter what, where your bread and butter is. As the coaching staff, as Pete knows, hey, this is how you get him back in rhythm. It's like knowing your kid. It's like, hey, I know how to soothe him. I know how to get him back. And when you go to a new place, then you have to find a new way to do that. You have to find a new rhythm. You have to adjust to a new scheme, and you have to find your rhythm within that scheme. And I think it's just been a little tougher to find his rhythm in that scheme. And I think they finally made some adjustments this past game, and they were seeing some success. They were having some success. He was moving the ball well. He was scrambling again. That you have to have the threat of running. That makes the play action pass. It makes the things work, and it opens up the playbook. And I think he was able to do that until, unfortunately, he went down with the concussion.
Best DB right now in the NFL. Who you got?
The best DB. That's tough. Because you got rookies playing well at the corner spot, which is rarely ever the case. So I think it's going to be a surprise, but the All-Pro team will probably have a rookie or two on it at the cornerback spot. Maybe not first team, but big play Slay is going to be up there. He's always playing high-level football. It's really tough because I still like Gilly. Gilly's playing good football. On the other side, Bradbury, DJ Reed out there in New York is opposite of Sauce, is playing really
Sauce
well.
Gardner, yep. Is it tough to impress you as a cornerback when you're watching?
Well,
do you have a high bar to clear?
Yeah, you got a high bar, but it's just a lot of people playing at a really high level. It's not one guy just like killing everybody and a bunch of guys playing like, like slap. A lot of guys are playing at a high level, and it's harder. It's the hardest time to do it. It's the hardest time to play cornerback in the National Football League. Every rule is against you. Every subjective slow-mo. Oh, he got his hand on his hand. And you even hear the commentators. They're like, they see a receiver push a corner in the face mask or in the head. You're like, there's probably a little bit of something there. You see a corner like touch their jersey or barely grab their jersey. They're like, see? Yeah, like there was a grab there, and the ref, like, you got to call that. It's like every rule is against the corner. So for the guys to be able to play at a high level and be able to disrupt these receivers the way they have and within the rules has been really cool.
Is there something, if the competition committee called you tomorrow and said, come to these owners meetings, is there something that you pinpoint where you say, okay, we got to let the corners do blank in order to just kind of stem the tide a little bit?
I would tell them they would have to holding and illegal contact can't be automatic first downs. That would be the first thing I'd go to, because you got plays where on 3rd and 27, receivers are just running into DBs, and as a natural human reaction, you're gonna defend yourself. It's not like you're just gonna like fall on the ground. You're in a position where you're always one play away from giving up a big play, so you're gonna panic and like do whatever you can to situate yourself on that play. So if you're given automatic first downs every time they do something that you can't defend against, it doesn't take a lot of talent to run into somebody. And so I would tell them that you can keep the PI as a spot foul. I think that needs to change, but I'll give you that. But the automatic first down, that's when it's a killer, because you're sitting there and you can call it almost any play, just like holding on an offensive lineman.
Is there something, and you've only been out, I mean, you played last year, but is there anything you've gotten into since you've retired that would surprise people? Any hobby, how are you spending your time when you're not, now that you don't play football?
Mostly just helping my kids, coaching my son, helping my daughter, taking them to the park, doing stuff like that. Managing these businesses. I sit on a few boards. Obviously, I got the TNF on Thursday nights. I got the podcast, but nothing crazy.
What are we coaching your son on? Football?
Well, we're coaching basketball next.
Oh.
I try not to coach football. It's it'd be a high expectation there. I'll coach him in football later on. I'll coach him individually.
You don't want to be the DB's coach of your son's high school?
No. I coach the track. I coach the basketball. Not football.
What about pop culture stuff? Are you watching anything, movies, anything you can recommend to the people right now?
I wish. I'm nothing cool. I catch some of the documentaries and stuff with the wife from time to time, but I'm usually 2 years back on everything. Everybody was done with
you're just
Game of
getting
Thrones.
to. Oh wait, did you get to it late?
Yeah, I got to it late. I'm done with it now, but I'm like, it was like 2 years after everybody else was already done and, had already done everything. And I was like, oh, hey, you guys heard of this Game of Thrones? Oh, you guys watched it. Gotcha.
What'd you think?
I thought it was pretty gory, a little aggressive, but it was a good time. It was great. It got a little sloppy at the end, but my goodness, I could not believe somebody was ballsy enough to put all that on TV.
That's a good way to put it. I like that you're just 2 years later than everybody else. Like you'll get to Queen's Gambit in like a year. You're good.
Right.
You're on your own schedule.
It's like, hey, you guys, chess is a pretty cool. You saw. Oh, okay. So you already knew about. Oh, okay, cool. Gotcha.
Dude, I'm telling you, you don't have to worry about it. Nobody wants to talk to you about it. Like you're not going to get spoilers if you watch it 2 years late.
Right. I caught it late, so then I go on the internet. It's done. If I Google something, I'm going to get answers, but I'm not Googling it. Just gonna watch it up.
Tell me something about playing with Tom Brady. And you didn't get a ton of experience there, but obviously you were in Tampa. There was a report from Michael Silver on Sunday that basically he just takes his skill guys in on Saturday and they came up with a game plan that Byron Leftwich doesn't even know about, which I found interesting. But obviously he's so good. I mean, Brandon LaFell told me the story one time about how he would make his receivers catch balls in the sun in Miami just so that their eyes would adjust. Like he's just so attention to detail oriented. What was that like being in a locker room with him, Richard?
Well, he's a real guy. He's a team guy. He's a good teammate. He's a guy that helps everybody. He's approachable for everybody. You would expect a guy who gets to that level of success and that level of fame to kind of, not be unapproachable, but kind of have an aura about himself that's like, hey, probably not. Don't come ask me for anything. But you look up in the locker room and it's Christmas time and everybody's getting their gifts ready and they need a Tom Brady signature and he'll have a locker full of stuff to sign and he'll sign it all. And you give it back to guys and not worry about it, not bat an eyelash at it. You talk about his preparation on game day, and sometimes he plays a little bit of backyard football with guys, where it's just like, hey, on the field, hey, I know this is going to work. It's supposed to be a run play, but I'm not going to hand it to you. Just fake the handoff, go to the flats, and I'll give it to you in the flat, and it's going to be a touchdown. And it'll be like, yeah, that worked, and it worked, yeah. Or it'll be talking to Gronk, and it's like, hey, we played together a long time. Hey, block him for a little while, and give me enough time, and then go out, and then I'll hit you as soon as you go out, and it'll be like. Yeah, this is working in the National Football League, and it's worked for a long time because it's like, hey, you got that rapport, you got that, and it's unexpected. You can't prepare for that. You can't game plan that.
I remember Gronk saying that to me one time, where basically they can go back and be like, hey, remember that play in 2013? Let's just do this right now. Like, it's crazy because they have such institutional knowledge. I need to go back to something. So people just will go and will get Tom Brady autographs for like their friends and family around Christmas time? That's a great gift.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, I was only there for 1 year, but yeah. When I was there, they did, yeah. And he did it. He was great about it.
Did you get any?
Of course.
Wait, who got the Tom Brady autograph in the family?
No. This is man cave. Somebody will get it later, but that was.
So you took it?
Yeah. So what are we doing?
Where is it?
In my man cave.
Did you get a helmet?
It was jersey.
Wow.
2 jerseys, actually.
Oh my gosh. Amazing. All right, we do one more thing, then we can tell you you can tell us what we're doing with Fan Control Football. First thing is we do a thing called Club Kevin. We induct anybody into a Hall of Fame to give a shout out to anybody. Doesn't matter who it is. Could be an athlete, could be somebody you're watching on TV, football player, anybody in your life. Doesn't matter who you inducting.
Probably my parents.
I love that, Mr. and Mrs. Sherman.
Right. They, you get a Hall of Famer. You get kids out the hood. Make ends meet long enough for them to make something out of themselves. You definitely get to the Hall of Fame. A lot of parents like that.
I love that. What are the first names?
Beverly and Kevin.
Beverly and Kevin. I love that. Congratulations, Beverly and Kevin, for getting a Club Kevin. Tell us what you're doing with Fan Control Football, Richard.
Well, it's just a cool league, man. Fan Control Football. I've always wanted to get into the ownership space. Obviously, I'm not going to have $1 gazillion to own a football team because my parents didn't have $1 gazillion.
You said that you're on some boards.
Yeah, I'm on some boards, but the gazillion that it takes to own a football team is I needed to have my dad needs to, and his dad's dad needed to own things that they needed to have $1 gazillion, and then I'd have $1 gazillion. But Fan Control Football League is an opportunity for guys that have just run out of shots. Guys that are good football players, played at a high level in college, and that's what people don't realize. There's only 1,800 spots in the National Football League. There's how many guys come out of college every year? It's more than 1,800. There's 120 Division Ones. There's the FCF. There's the HBCUs. There's Division II, Division III, and all these guys trying to get to 1,800 spots. So the guys that don't make it, that probably would have success in this league, get the opportunity to showcase their talent, and the fans get to call the plays. That's the coolest part about it. You get to have a great time, and you got fans online watching on Twitch, calling these plays and seeing if they're successful, seeing if they're not successful, and the guys that commit more time to the opportunity get more say so.
Love it. Richard Sherman, thank you so much. You're here with Fan Control Football. We'll see you soon, bud.
See you soon.